session.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Garth?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 16th Board of Township Trustees meeting here in Anderson Township. We start off every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight I think we have the Summit Elementary Brownie Troop, troop number 46728, that is going to lead us in the pledge. You ready, young ladies? Let's do this. Whenever you want to start.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, girls. Nicely done.
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Garth?
Yes. Tonight we have a public hearing. We will start with that. Paul, you want to give us the background?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Tonight we have a public hearing for case 2/2017 Anderson Township, which is a zone change request from C single family to DD, which is planned multifamily. The applicant is proposing an approximate 80,000 square foot, two-story assisted living with memory care facility. Included with that would be 58 parking spaces, one driveway access onto Beachmont Avenue, as well as proposer 89 rooms with 99 beds. Some of them would be double occupancy. The location is at 688 Beachmont Avenue, which is the address for Beach Acres. This property, the zone change request is only on a portion of that property, approximately 6.5 acres, only within Anderson Township. So the property itself was purchased by the current owner in 1948. Since then, the uses of that original facility have changed, and currently it's used for offices primarily. A little bit of the history of this particular case: there was a pre-submittal meeting held here at the township, which is our neighborhood style type meeting. This was held on August the 23rd, 2017. Following that meeting, Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission held a public hearing on October the 5th, 2017, and recommended approval with conditions. And then this was reviewed by the Township Zoning Commission on October the 23rd, who also recommended approval with conditions, and we'll get into those. We'll get into the conditions a little later after we review the slides. So again, the property is outlined in red on the slide in front of you, and this is the portion of the property that is located within Anderson Township, approximately 6+ acres. There is an adjacent parcel that is also approximately 6 acres within the city of Cincinnati, and this is outlined in green on the slide. This property is under contract to purchase by the applicant, but is not part of the zone change, and there is no request currently for any use of that property. Surrounding uses, bear with me just one second here. So surrounding uses, this is the Beach Acres complex. This is Beachmont Avenue. This is an existing home on the property that was rented out and is a single-family home on the property, which is proposed to be removed. Other surrounding uses are single-family on Beachmont, just to the west of the site, and also single-family to the south. Beach Acres Park is located just off of the map. This is a little wider view of the property and a topography map to show there is a knoll, or the site is relatively flat where the proposed development is. However, surrounding the site there is a swell in this particular area that goes underneath Beachmont Avenue. This is an aerial of the site. Again, the site in red outlined is the area requested for zone change. This is the surrounding zoning. The current zoning in the township is C, which is single family. There is some DD multifamily across the street, which is Mount Washington Care Center, and then multifamily apartment buildings. And then to the south and to the west is the city of Cincinnati. It's zoned SF6, which is single family lots on 6,000 square foot lots. These are the elevation drawings of the proposed development. A mixture of building materials is proposed, some stone, some siding, a mixture of roofing materials, but changes in elevation to present a residential character for the facility. This is the survey of the area to be rezoned. Just other features of the property, just other details of the dumpster enclosure. Proposed signage, one monument-style sign on Beachmont Avenue. This area here are the swells in the area that have the drainage issues, which are not proposed to be disturbed with this development. The existing trees that would be removed. And then this is the site plan of the facility. As you can see, it has 4 wings. The main drive would come in off of Beachmont Avenue. The main drive is proposed to be located approximately where the township welcome sign is currently located, to give you an idea. This is the site that was discussed with ODOT for appropriate site distance on Beachmont Avenue, as well as to maintain, to remove the driveway from the swell that comes along the side of the property. Again, only one access to this off of Beachmont Avenue in the parking. The site has been designed to have the loading area and on this side of the building, on the south side of the building, the side that is farthest from the single-family residence in the area. There is proposed to have enclosed outdoor areas for the residents, and then the detention basin is proposed to be on the south side of the site. Again, the topography map, the landscaping plan, and the lighting plan. These are the site photos. This is the existing house on the site. This is looking west toward Mount Washington. This is the rear portion of the site. There is a wooded area, and the portion of the site within the city is fairly wooded, but that area is not proposed to be developed. The trees that are on the portion in the township, there are some significant beech trees on a portion of the property. However, most of those were damaged during the hurricane, and their tops were ripped off. There are some large beech, you can tell in this picture, some of the damage that was done during the hurricane. There are some large beeches on the front of the property, but those will most likely be removed. These are just site photos. So with the zone change request, we look at zoning resolution compliance, and all of the issues that were raised by Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission that were not in zoning compliance have been modified, so now they are in zoning compliance. So the entire proposal is compliant with the parking standards, the lighting standards, setbacks, etc. The applicable plans for this particular site, with the comprehensive plan, there are multiple areas in our comprehensive plan that speaks for a need for this type of housing and this type of facility. And this particular site, the Beach Acres site, was actually studied as a key site during our comprehensive plan update, and it scored well for this type of development due to its proximity to Beachmont Avenue, its proximity to infrastructure, and also its proximity to the residential area on Beachmont Avenue. So there are other aspects of this plan that meet criteria in the comprehensive plan. Those are listed on the slide. Design guidelines, again, there are multiple areas in our township design guidelines that are applicable, and they are meeting this facade design, building materials, architecture, all of it's a residential character, and we feel that would fit in well with the surrounding architecture of the area. The trails plan, they are proposing a sidewalk along Beachmont Avenue, which is a zoning requirement. We are also encouraging, and the zoning commission recommended a condition that an easement be made to connect to beach acres that will ultimately connect to the park, and we can show you that on the site plan. So staff's notes and recommendation is to approve the zone change based on the 4 criteria. That it's consistent with the land use component of the comprehensive plan, which identifies it for institutional use. Also, we feel that it is compatible with surrounding uses in the vicinity. Again, as shown on the aerial, there is a long-term care facility, Zone DD, across the street or in close proximity. There's also multifamily. There's also other institutional uses like the park and beach acres and the Athenaeum down the street. The health and safety of the neighborhood of the township are maintained, and then again, it's consistent with other zoning in the vicinity. So the conditions that are recommended by the Zoning Commission as well as by Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission is, 1, that the site shall be limited to 1 freestanding sign, that a sidewalk be constructed along the entire frontage of Beachmont Avenue, construction limits and temporary fencing be installed to protect the woodland area in the rear, and then a pedestrian easement. There was one other condition that Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission did recommend, and that was a vehicular connection to the property in the city of Cincinnati, and I might go back to an aerial actually would be the best way to describe this. Actually, this is a little bit better because it has the street names. So the pedestrian easement that is recommended is in this vicinity, and that is to allow for employees or family members visiting residents or even potentially residents, depending on their health, to access the park via a pedestrian access. There is Beach Acres property between this subject property and the park. However, there is some infrastructure that would make a connection fairly easy. This is a maintenance drive that goes to the maintenance building, so if it's possible to make a pedestrian connection to at least even get to this maintenance drive, it would allow for direct pedestrian connection between the park and this facility, which we think are very compatible. So that was the condition regarding an pedestrian access easement. The other item was recommended by regional planning and township staff initially was a vehicular access easement between these 2 properties should or if this property were to ever develop. So in the 2 items at play, well, there's really 3 items at play. This property here is currently zoned for single family, 6,000 square foot lots. If that property were to develop as it is currently zoned, zoning and planning would recommend access off of Davlin. There is a stub street Davlin into that area. This development as it is zoned is compatible with the existing development on LeConte and on Bernie, same size lots. So we feel that it would make, it would be most logical to tie into Davlin. If this property were to develop some other fashion than single family, such as a facility like we're discussing tonight, or some other facility more toward a commercial type use, it would require zone change within the city of Cincinnati, and access may make sense coming straight from Beachmont Avenue instead of coming through single family neighborhood. So the Regional Planning Commission and staff initially felt an easement would be appropriate at this time to ensure this property would have access out to Beachmont Avenue. The Zoning Commission discussed this and felt that it was not appropriate at this time, not knowing how this property were to develop, and it put a strain on this property not knowing how this were to develop. However, it is under same ownership, or is under contract to be under same ownership, so they really have the key to how this is developed anyway. But having that vehicular easement, if this property were to develop as single family, it would allow for single family, those residents to come in off of Beachmont, and the owner wasn't necessarily supportive of that. And vice versa, if this were to develop as commercial, we feel that it would be. Regardless, the Zoning Commission felt uncomfortable having that condition on there, not knowing how this property were to develop. And they felt it would be more appropriate if this went through a zone change in the city, that it come back to the zoning commission at that time, because they would know exactly how this property is being developed. So that was the logic of the zoning commission for removing that condition. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That was not in the zoning commission's recommendation. So I'll be happy, that's our staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So, if this lot in the city is rezoned to DD, or what their version of that would be, then zoning in the city would want it to connect to this drive and have access to Beachmont. Is that correct?
Well, it's not actually known what the city would require, would not require. If this property were up to a rezoning other than single-family, and this owner didn't want them to have access to that, there's good reason to deny that zone change, because there would only be access through a single-family neighborhood.
Right, but if it's the same owner.
If it's the same owner, then yes, it would need to come back to our zoning commission, because it would be changing the final development plan. Because you're now allowing or having more traffic come through their site, or different access, a different use come through that site that wasn't envisioned with this zone change.
But this could handle that traffic if that was developed multifamily.
We don't know that. It's being designed for the current facility. Or the proposed facility, I should say.
Right.
That's it? Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate another question.
Thank you.
This is an open public hearing, so anyone that would like to...
I think the applicant wanted to make a presentation.
Oh, sorry. Hold that thought. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Guyatt, and I am from Stonecrest Senior Living and NP Development. We are based out of Kansas City. I do have a presentation. You also have it in front of you, but Paul did such a great job, and he was super thorough. So I'm here to answer any questions. I also have Josh with me from Kleinger's to help answer any other questions, and Tim McElroy from our Cincinnati office. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Do you guys have any questions?
Give me a second.
Is there anything else you want to add?
We've worked really hard in coordination with Paul's office and the residents, so we are really excited about the opportunity to be a part of the Anderson Township community. So if there's no questions, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Mason, President and CEO of Beach Acres Parenting Center, and I've been there since 1978. So I've seen a lot of changes there, as you all know. We started as an orphanage. We now serving about 100 kids a year on that campus. Times have changed a lot, and we are now a parenting center. I say from a 19th century orphanage to a 21st century parenting center, serving 20,000 children and parents in 5 counties in Southwest Ohio. So our need for space has changed a lot. We now have 5 locations in various counties around, and we're very much of a community-based organization. As you know, we have endeavored to be a good community partner out here in Anderson Township for a long time. It's been very important to us, and it still is. So we have an asset that's valuable in the community and also valuable to us. And when we started looking at property options, we had two goals. One was to figure out what's the highest and best use of this asset to achieve our modern mission. And the second one is to be good community partners. And so I'm really pleased because, as Paul described to you, this plan is very consistent with your strategic plan, and it's very consistent with how we want to be a community neighbor and also return some assets, revenue on assets for us to advance our mission. So I'm here with the full support of our board and delighted at this partnership. These are really great people. Stonecrest, we've gotten to know them really well. We've gotten to know, as you can imagine, a lot of people who have been interested in the property with various proposals over the years. And these guys are great people, and so we're very excited about it. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I think so. Thanks, Jim.
Great, okay, thanks, John.
My name is Michael Survey. I'm chairman of the zoning committee of the Mount Washington Community Council. It's my understanding a copy of a letter from our president has been distributed to the board. I'm not going to stand here and read the letter, but please allow me to summarize it. Last evening, the Mount Washington Community Council met, and the general membership took a vote not to oppose the rezoning, but there was a concern expressed about the access to that 6 acres within the city of Cincinnati. Should it be rezoned and redeveloped by as something other than the single-family residences? As Paul indicated, the staff report that went to the zoning commission had that as a condition. That was rejected by the zoning commission, and I'm here to request that the Board of Trustees put that back in as a condition of the rezoning. We believe that this is consistent with the principles of good land use planning, and it protects the future transportation network in the vicinity of Beach Acres. The bottom line is, quite frankly, we'd like a bird in the hand rather than speculating about what might happen on down the road. And so we would feel a whole lot more secure if that easement were a part of the development plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And Paul, thank you for giving commentary on the decision by the zoning commission on why they made that decision.
My name is Gregory Souders. I live at 6775 Beachmont Avenue, which is directly adjacent to the property that's being developed for the zoning. I like my privacy as much as anybody. I realize that something's going to be done with this land, and I just feel that this is probably the best of any of the options that I heard of what's going in there. There's less stress on the beautification of the land and not destroying down forest. So I support the zoning change. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we put conditions?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Anybody else?
I don't think we can. That's the zoning commission.
With that, we will close the public hearing. And I will make a motion approving and adopting a zone change from C residence to DD planned multiple residence for property located at 6881 Beachmont Avenue.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
I'm concerned about this request. I mean, if they don't own that property is going to be landlocked. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's not landlocked. There is
Well, they could go
access
out
off of
through-
Davlin.
I get that.
Yes.
But if there's no access out of Beachmont Avenue, and they own it, and then they decide to sell, I mean, I'm just a little confused on that piece. And as to, I know you explained it, why it was, but I don't really get it. I mean, why wouldn't you allow some kind of easement through there?
Again, the zoning commission, if there is a zone change for that property, or even a zone change is considered, it's kind of the cart before the horse. If a zone change is being considered for that property, most likely it would come through the township first to even see if there would be access out to Beachmont before the city would even consider it, would be my opinion. Although it has legal access off of Davlin, and really, NP Development has control over that site. They're going to own it it's under contract to purchase pending zoning approval. They will own it. So if it's going to be developed or it's complementary to their facility, they're going to allow access through their facility. If it's going to be developed complementary to the single-family neighborhood, it only makes sense to go out Davlin. I think regional planning was trying to be proactive so that it wouldn't have to come back to the zoning commission if access were requested through the township for this property. But the zoning commission felt they didn't want to require an easement like that, not knowing how this property was going to be developed. And they wanted details of how this property would be developed before they would consider that requirement for an easement. I don't know if that helps explain it or not.
It helps a little bit, yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's on me?
Yes.
Are we, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Earth?
Yes. Thank you. At every meeting, we set aside time for a public forum. Individuals who wish to address this board may do so. We ask you to limit your comments, please, to 5 minutes, and also please state your name and address for the record. Judge, you want to kick it off?
Good evening. All righty. Well, congratulations, and good evening for everyone. My name is Judge Marilyn Zayas, and I've actually resided in Anderson Township for nearly 20 years, and I currently serve for the last 3 years on the board of Beach Acres Parenting Center. I stepped out because I currently serve on the Court of Appeals, and we actually now have jurisdiction over zoning appeals. So, you know, I need to keep very clean as a Court of Appeals judge so that everything that comes before me, all I know is whatever the record shows me. So I also wanted to share a little bit about myself and some of the things that I've been able to do in my I've only been there for 1 year, time that I've been there, but it's been a wonderful 1 year serving our community in Hamilton County. I was elected in November 2016. I took the seat in December, and I've been in Cincinnati since 1988. I came in 1988 to work for Procter & Gamble, originally from New York City. Grew up in a very tough neighborhood. And when we moved in, it actually was not a tough neighborhood. It was a typical middle-class, working-class neighborhood. And with the epidemic of the 70s of heroin, it transitioned very quickly into something that was really quite different. I also grew up in a household where there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of dysfunction, and my escape growing up was my balcony. I was one of the few people growing up in New York City that had a balcony. It had a cement floor, painted in green, and I used to go out there with my Barbie dolls and literally pretend my cement floor was grass. That was my backyard. And back then I had 3 dreams, which to me were very lofty dreams. My dreams were to get out of New York City, to go to college, and to own a house. And to me, a house was something that, a house with a little grass that went all the way around. And by the time I was 24, I reached those dreams. When I got out of high school, even though I grew up in a neighborhood that most people don't make it through high school, I decided to major in engineering. I went to the best college that I can afford, and I used to commute 4 hours on the New York subway system every day to go to undergraduate. When I got out of undergraduate, I was recruited by Procter, came here in '88, and 5 months later, I bought my first house that was on Marburg Avenue in the Hyde Park area. So when I was 24, I reached all of my dreams. And literally since then, I just kind of took life as it came to me. And so when I ran last year, I really ran on sort of that inspiration of that little girl growing up in New York City, basically knowing what it was like not to have a voice, and knowing what I wanted to be as an appellate judge, not only from that experience, but from the 20 years of serving as an attorney and doing a lot of appellate work and understanding the power of the Court of Appeals. And, you know, the Court of Appeals is there. The Court of Appeals is the court, I call it the court to catch and correct mistakes. And so when it catches those mistakes, it's very powerful. And when it correctly leaves things intact, it's also very powerful. Because the decisions that are made by the Court of Appeals, it impacts the individuals that come before us, the businesses that are attached to those individuals, and the families that are attached to those individuals. So in the less than 1 year that I have been there, as an attorney, it was always important to me to reach back and to always reach back to the next generation. So since I've been there, there's actually 4 programs that I've initiated. I'm going to talk about 2 of them tonight. Since I know you guys have a 5-minute rule. So keeping in your 5-minute rule, coming to the Court of Appeals or coming to any bench, transparency or any form of government transparency is very important. And these certainly, you know, our community cannot ask the right questions if they don't understand what it is that we do. And so one of the programs that I've worked very hard, and I've had other judges collaborate in order to make that happen, is bringing the court to the community. So we held 2 community courts. Our first one was in Coleraine Township. Our second one was here in Anderson Township. So I actually sat there as a judge. I'm the 3rd most senior judge on the Court of Appeals, so I was presiding judge when I was here. And we actually had a very good showing. I think about 30 to 40 people from our community came for that session. The other program that I wanted to share with you is, I call it Bringing Kids to the Court. And so I've been working with government teachers in different high schools so that they build the Court of Appeals into their curriculum, and they bring kids to the Court of Appeals as part of their curriculum. We have our first class coming on Monday, and we have Dater High School.
That's your 5 minutes.
Pardon?
Go ahead.
We have Dater High School coming on Monday, and we already have Withrow High School scheduled, and I'm working with several other teachers to program more schools to come to the Court of Appeals in 2018. So I just wanted to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity, and I guess if I can have 30 more seconds, if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to take your questions. All righty. Well, thank you so much. This is a big break for me. Last year, I spent the whole year saying, remember the Z, vote for the Z, and now I get to say, okay, now I'm Judge Zayas, and it's a whole different thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Good evening. My name's Katie Nappy. I live at 644 Watchpoint Drive here in Anderson. This is the second trustee meeting I've attended. I didn't realize until I read in the Forest Hills Journal that Anderson residents' concerns are not considered credible if a resident has only attended 1 meeting, and particularly if that meeting is before an election. So I'm here again. I have 2 items to address this evening. The first is an offer to the township. The second, a request of the board. First, there's been a lot of fanfare about the Anderson Township Veterans Memorial. And as a veteran, I'm deeply honored to have a local memorial that recognizes the service of all men and women in Anderson who have stood up to serve our country. I am a proud Army veteran, having served as a chemical officer and a refuel and ammunition platoon leader for an Apache Combat Helicopter Battalion in the 1990s, long time ago. I'm also a charter member of the Women in Military Service for America Memorial, which is located in D.C. I've brought information tonight, and I'm happy to leave it for whoever's interested, regarding the Women's Memorial, and I'm happy to help the township make this information available to all female veterans in Anderson. Female veterans are eligible to add their information about their service to the memorial's registry. On my last visit to D.C., I brought my 3 daughters to the Women's Memorial, where they could pull up my service record in the registry and learn about my service and the service of other women. Registering with the Women's Memorial is a wonderful opportunity for female veterans from Anderson Township to preserve their legacy of service for our country. My request tonight relates to follow-up on the trustee social media policy. Specifically, I'd like to request that the township provide a sufficient opportunity for public review and comment before any policy is adopted. I'm thankful that the township has agreed to draft a social media policy for our trustees, but as we all are painfully aware, this is a complicated area with significant implications for our township, its residents, and our trustees. For residents, any policy needs to ensure that our First Amendment rights will be protected, that all residents have a voice when township business is discussed in an online public forum, and that we can address legitimate concerns to our elected officials without fear of public retribution online. Violations of these rights need to have real consequences. I suspect that our trustees have many questions and concerns as well about their rights and responsibilities. The legal boundaries of what they can discuss, in which forums, and with whom on social media are blurry and evolving. Precedents are now only starting to be set. Here are just a sampling of the questions I hope the policy will address, and I'm sure that there are more questions others have, which is why it would be great to have a forum for public comment. What constitutes township business on social media? Can trustees discuss township business on their personal accounts? If so, are they required to provide all residents access to that conversation on their personal account? What protections, if any, exist to prevent public disclosure of private resident information by our elected officials on social media? I'm only one resident. Since this issue impacts everyone in the township, an open, transparent, and civil process for public review and comment of the trustee social media policy, I believe, is both warranted and necessary. Ideally, the draft policy would be made available in advance of either this monthly meeting or a special meeting, and public comment included as an item on the meeting agenda. This will ensure all concerns from both residents and trustees can be heard and questions sufficiently addressed prior to adoption. Transparency is the cornerstone of good local government. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Anyone else? All right, with that, we'll close the public forum. Trustee comments? Andrew, D? Anything?
No, but thank you for the information about the female veterans. I think that was useful information. Can I leave? Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Ken, you're up.
Thank you. We have no appropriation changes, which is actually 6B, but usually after 10 months of being into expenditures and things like that, we find ourselves in a position where we have to have some appropriation changes, but we don't. So thanks to staff and administration, we're keeping things under budget. Matter of fact, we're under budget by about 10%. That might not last because at the end of the year, we usually have expenditures that need to be taken care of before the end of the year, but we'll hope to come in, as we usually do, 5 to 10% under budget. Expenditures, or I'm sorry, revenues, we've just about had most of the revenues come in because of tax collections. We have settled that, but we're a couple $1 million over on the total budget of what we had anticipated in revenues. A lot of that is TIF money, but it shows that all the other service areas are coming in revenue-wise just about where we thought they would be. So And that's all I have.
Great. Thanks,
Thanks,
Ken.
Ken.
Good work, Debbie. Margaret?
I just have one comment, and that is that I would love to have Ms. Nappy's comments about the social media and writing. You had a couple of specific items you wanted addressed. If you have a copy, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Paul, anything else from Lieutenant Matt Guy?
Good evening. Just a few quick items on the agenda. First, before you in your packet, you should have a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus equipment to the Village of Lincoln Heights. We've got two 2011 fully equipped Ford Crown Victorias that have outlived their usefulness for our use. I advertised them for sale throughout the state through a law enforcement website, and coincidentally, our garage staff had made note that Lincoln Heights had a couple of cruises that just had pretty bad diagnosis, so they were in need of a little bit of a Band-Aid, and so they approached us about purchasing these vehicles, and we reached an agreement, and that resolution is before you.
I move to authorize the sale of surplus equipment to the Village of Lincoln Heights, Ohio pursuant to a contract authorized by Section 505.101 of the revised code.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Also, just to note, both of those vehicles have already been replaced, and the replacements, a couple of brand-new Ford Explorers are already in service on the street. Second, I have a liquor agent contract for Kroger Limited Partnership, LP, located at 7528 Beachmont Avenue. Due to the physical location of that business, we have no objections to that license.
I move not to object to a liquor agency contract request for Kroger Limited Partnership 1LP located at 7528 Beachmont Avenue.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
And the last item I have before you is a liquor license request transfer for Lynn's Hibachi Master Incorporated, doing business as Hibachi Master, located at 8160 Beachmont. This request, we also have no objections to.
I move not to object to a liquor license transfer request for Lynn's Hibachi Master, Inc., DBA Hibachi Master, located at 8160 Beachmont Avenue.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yep.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Yes, and I believe there was also a liquor agency contract for Kroger Limited.
Did that one.
We did
I
that.
missed, sorry, I
all
dozed off. My apologies.
I thought we did that before, though. No, but like
We did.
before,
I had it- looks like-
that's why I was,
I
like,
think
didn't we
this
do
one
that?
looks like it's a contract for a state liquor store, so it looks like it's going to be a standalone, it'll have its own entrance.
Like a
That's-
couple months ago, there was one for Kroger's, though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Transfer.
Yeah, that was a transfer, that was
was a
different. That
transfer.
was for
Yeah.
the beer and wine. This is actually for a state liquor store. That will be part of the
The hard
expansion.
stuff, okay, I get it.
My
Okay,
apologies.
Thank you. Okay.
Richard Shelley.
Good evening, and I am excited to be before the board tonight, as usual. I would like to first present to the board the chance to renew the 2018 landscape maintenance contract. While we have a kind of an automatic renewal on that, the numbers that you see before you are not automatic. They reflect additions and subtractions on a regular basis, especially this year with our work along 5 Mile, 8 Mile, and Beachmont Avenue through the downtown Anderson plan. So things go in, things come out. Again, we service over 200 sites, and that's what you see representing here, including this building. So,
I move that this board hereby approve renewal of the contract for Merkel Lawn Care Company for the 2018 landscape maintenance project, together with a 10% contingency for a maximum appropriation of $262,527 in the general fund. Further, this board hereby authorizes and directs the Township Administrator, after consultation with the Law Director, to enter into contract with Merkel Lawn Care Company for the 2018 landscape maintenance project.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you. The second item you have is a resolution allowing the Public Works Department to purchase 3 different vehicles. If you look at Exhibit A, it explains that 3 are leaving, and the oldest one, of course, being a 1999. And when a truck's in salt for that many years, it's done its job. And then the other 2 are 2003, 2004 respectfully. And again, the 2004 is a pickup that is a Super Duty, and it's done its job. So what you have in essence is 3 out and 3 in, and all purchased under the state bid pricing.
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of road equipment and the trade-in surplus road equipment pursuant to revised code section 505.10A3.
Second. Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I had, unless you have questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Chief Ober.
Good evening. The only thing that I have on the agenda to report, as the board is aware, we'd like the public to know, we've been getting the message out, is this week is Winter Safety Awareness Week. And just to remind everybody, it's a perfect time to check the house out, get the house prepared and the vehicles prepared. I know the weather's been up and down, but and anything can happen with the weather. For those of us that have been around here for a while, it changes daily, as a matter of fact. And with that said, prepare your home for the winter. Low-hanging branches, good idea. Make sure the gutters get cleaned. We will never let loose of the fire safety issues, the cooking, the electric, the heaters, the furnaces, the fireplace. I had a response last night. When you don't open the flue, it creates problems. So we'll make sure the flues are open, chimneys are cleaned out, and keep towels and things like that away when you're cooking. Make sure your home and vehicle are prepared, and make sure you keep an eye on your neighbors. And we are susceptible to thunderstorms, tornado, and flash floods. And when this document was sent out to us, as a reminder, all of those occurred in the state within the last 2 weeks. So we're going to continue to make sure those messages get out through our social media. We also did some employee review training this week, so just want to make sure the public was aware. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vicki?
Yes, Mr. Severs has the first 3 items.
Good evening. I do have the first 3 items. The first item on the agenda for administration is the Community Development Block Grant Funding. This is a project you recall back at the October meeting. We held a public hearing, and that was actually following a public hearing that was held the week prior. We've had no additional comments. Therefore, staff is requesting a motion to allow us to submit Community Development Block Grant Funding application for the Town Center Way improvements in an amount not to exceed $380,000. It's our hope that would be applied to fiscal year 18, which will allow us to begin construction next year if awarded.
I move to authorize the Township Administrator to submit the Town Center Way Improvement Project to Hamilton County Community Development Department for Community Development Block Grant Funding for fiscal year 2018.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Thank you. Second item pertains to Beachmont Avenue Engineering. We've been fortunate now for over 2 decades to employ the services of KZF Design, a local engineering firm that has assisted us with preparation and planning efforts along Beachmont Avenue, which have been very successful, been very well recognized by other communities and by various agencies for our progress. We typically request authorization each year, and I'm coming before you today for that authorization. This would be for 2018. For their services, primary focus of this would be to assist with continued redevelopment projects and planning for those activities, as well as staff's ongoing efforts. We had a public open house last month, but our ongoing efforts to consolidate the Beachmont plans, it's a project we hope to wrap up early next year as well. So if there's any questions on their work or their proposed work, I'd be happy to answer those.
I move to authorize the Township Administrator to enter into contract with KZF Design, Inc. for Beachmont Corridor Engineering Services, including but not limited to working with redevelopment projects and providing technical and mapping expertise as planning and zoning staff consolidate the Beachmont plans in an amount not to exceed $10,000.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Thank you. And my final item I have is the appointment of the communications consultant for 2018. We've been very fortunate now for nearly 15 years to employ the services of Nancy Kane. Nancy works very closely with administration in our departments on news releases, Anderson Insights, and which has been very well received by our residents, our website, and our Facebook efforts. As you know, we have, and we're proud to announce that we have the second most trafficked Facebook page for a township in the state of Ohio, out of 1,308 townships in just 4 years. We've been,
one?
what's that? Westchester. So we are in good company with Westchester, but it has become a very effective way of communicating with our residents and getting information out, and being a 24-hour operation for that. The thing looking forward to next year, we have a request for a slight increase in the number of hours that relates to preparations and activities associated with the township's 225th anniversary. So if the board is comfortable in proceeding, we do have a motion for your consideration this evening for Nancy's services to continue on a contract basis for next year.
I move to authorize the extension of the continuing consultant role of Nancy Kane as communication consultant at the rate of $60 per hour for a total not to exceed $40,000 in 2018.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Each December, the board is typically asked to appoint a township representative to the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments Board of Directors. As I mentioned, we typically ask the board for such action at its December meeting in preparation for the following year. This year, OKI has requested that we provide the name of the township representative and the alternate to OKI no later than December 4th. So there is a resolution before the board. The appointee is not listed, pending board discussion as far as who is to be appointed and who is to be the alternate. I believe Mr. Girth is currently the representative to OKI, and Mr. Pappas is the alternate. So there is a motion before you with a couple of blanks to be filled in.
Paper, rock, scissors?
We can continue on, that's fine.
I'm happy to continue this.
If you're happy to do it, you've got a relationship.
I don't really care. I've never been to one, so I don't.
Well, they are exciting.
No, they're not.
That's where the Ohio River Trail thing came out.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go.
Okay.
I'll be the alternate.
Sure. I move to appoint, you want me to take it?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I move to appoint Josh Girth as Anderson Township representative to the Board of Directors of the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments, and to appoint D. Stone as alternate.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll make sure to forward that information on to OKI. We have 3 items arising from executive session discussions, the first of which is a resolution in order employing attorney for particular matters.
Okay. Let's see. I move to adopt a resolution in order employing Jeffrey R. Rush Esquire and the law firm of Frost Brown Todd LLC as township attorneys for particular litigation matters.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you. The next motion is regarding the proposed 2018 compensation package for non-collective bargaining unit employees. We would ask for board consideration.
I move to approve the 2018 compensation adjustments as presented.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you. And the last item is authorization to hire a maintenance worker to replace Gary Hucker, who have been with the township for quite some time and is sorely missed. But we're looking to find a successor to Gary, and this motion would authorize that hiring.
I move to authorize the township administrator to fill the vacant maintenance worker position at a rate not to exceed $25.40 per hour. This will include all of the benefits normally offered with full-time employment status.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
That is all we have this evening.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
Our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be December 21st, 2017 at 6 o'clock in this room. With that, I would move to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.